Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am going to give you two chances to guess who I am. Two chances, that's all you get. Chance number one, no, I'm not the guy from that insurance commercial. I am Mr. Warren Hayes himself, proprietor, operator, foaming at the mouth guy of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, checking it out, joining me live, because I do this live, in case you're watching this later, on demand. Perhaps you didn't know I do this live, but I do this live after Raw and SmackDown, a half hour after the show, so that we all have time to, get up and loosen ourselves up a bit, and then go over, go to the bathroom, get a glass of something, like water, or whatever your beverage of choice is. It's always an opportunity to just get the cobwebs out, set your thoughts, and then boom, come over and talk wrestling. We have an active crowd tonight. We got a bunch of people in the chat. Why don't I say hello to a few people here? Jason Campbell, JPQ, Scrunterific, the legendary JF, Graham Cook, Chiliminati. Got a bunch of folks out here. So glad that you're joining us, and if you're not, so if you want more people in the chat right now, if you want more people joining in, share this out. Send this out over into the internet. Maybe you put this on Twitter. You take the link. You put it on Twitter. You put it on Facebook. You put it wherever that other people might be interested to join. You give it a thumbs up, because Google apparently, not Google, YouTube, but it's the same thing. It's the same company. YouTube likes this kind of stuff. I just said, hey, Google, and now my phone is freaking out. There we go. So that's the thing. Tweet it out there. Let's get more people in here, more people interested in it. And if you're not watching this live, well, a like and a subscribe always helps. Tell your friends, tell your foes, just tell anyone who listen, really, about your boy Warren. And your boy Warren this week is going to not sleep much. Got to tell you, folks, since I started doing this in June, May, I don't remember. This is going to be the busiest week I have ever had doing wrestling podcasting stuff. Listen to this. Tonight is Monday. I'm doing the Raw thing. Tomorrow, Tuesday, I'm doing the SmackDown recap. Wednesday, my usual 205 Live NXT UK recap show over on FightfulSelect.com. Thursday, I am invited as a guest, mind you, on the Speeds and the Benchmark show. It's going to be my second time over there. We're going to be doing War Game predictions. That's going to be awesome. We do that live on 8 Central. So that's 9 Eastern. Then afterwards, Chris Spizak, co-host of the Speeds and the Benchmark show, is going to come on to my show immediately after his. And we're going to be doing Survivor Series predictions. Then on Friday, I'm going to have C. Danny Mac back. C. Danny Mac of the Undisputed Future podcast. And we're going to be doing War Games predictions on Friday. Then on Saturday, and this is exciting news, folks. Exciting news. On Friday, I am going to be debuting a brand new project with my buddy Wilfred of the Wilfred Watches podcast. We're going to be starting a new show called The Kings of Chat Style. And it is going to be a roundtable discussion. 2 hosts, he and myself. Wilfred, he being Wilfred, pronouns. Wilfred and myself, plus 2 guests. And we're going to be debating 2 different topics happening right now in the world of wrestling. It's going to be exciting. And our 2 guests to kick this off, our debut show, are going to be none other than Anthony Suter of the Smart to Death podcast and Kirsten Ashley, editor-in-chief of Diva Dirt. So both of these fine folks are going to be joining Wilfred and I for our inaugural show of the Kings of Chat Style. And what's really going to be cool is that we're going to be doing it live here on YouTube again. So if you feel like jumping in, coming into the chat, having a discussion with us, that'll be fantastic. But also, it will also be available as a podcast. So you get the live thing here on YouTube. And if podcasting, listening to audio is more of your thing, well, it'll be available on the Wilfred Watches podcast stations, wherever you listen to fantastic podcasteries. He'll have all of that there. It's going to be cuckoo crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this. Been working a long time on getting this off the ground. Hope you guys show up. It'll be on Saturday. If you want to, the best way to make sure that you know at what time we're doing this, you can subscribe here. There'll probably be a live event that's going to be created. You can subscribe to either my YouTube or Wilfred's, not YouTube, Twitter account, sorry. My Twitter account, Mr. Warren Hayes. Wilfred is at Wilfred Watches. You'll be able to get the time. It's going to be fantastic. And then, if that's not enough, on top of that, as exciting as that is, I'm going to be joining the post-show over on Fightful. I'm going to be joining Sean Ross Sapp and Alex Pulowski after War Games. So I'm doing the War Games post-show and the Survivor Series post-show. Whew. Honestly, it's one of the first weeks that I'm really worried I'm going to lose my voice. It's crazy what I have stacked up. Bananas, man. Bananas. Thanks to everyone jumping in. Yeah, Bob Aruski's here. It's fantastic. So please join me throughout all of this. And you remember, right? Remember also to come on Wednesday, FightfulSelect.com. Premium service for Fightful.com. Subscription service. You get extra content, extra members-only podcasts, such as my 205 Live NXT UK recap show. Sean does a bunch of podcasts as well there. He does dark match commentaries, does weekly recaps of non-WWE programming. He and I, retro reviews of past pay-per-views of times past, such as recently we just released Survivor Series 1994, so you should go check that out. It starts at $5 a month, guys. FightfulSelect.com, plus you're supporting Fightful.com. Premier combat sports news website. Go check it out. All right. So, who we got here? What are we doing? What do we do? What is what we do? What is it? How do talk? How was time talk, person? What do we usually do before we start jumping into the actual Raw recap? Ladies and gentlemen, we go with bold predictions! That's right. I always ask for from my very gracious Twitter timeline to give us their boldest predictions of what they expect from the main roster WWE shows. I do it for Raw, I do it for SmackDown. Since we're doing Raw today, we're going to do the Raw bold predictions. I have to say, last week, and I'm not trying to rag on anyone who follows me on Twitter, who has the patience to put up with me on Twitter. Let's put it that way. But I thought last Tuesday, the bold predictions were, I like to say on my Twitter, on the tweet when I put it out, I say no limp noodle predictions, but they were kind of limpy, kind of noodly, a little limp, a little noodle, but not exactly limp noodle. Not both fused together. I gotta tell you, timeline. Everyone on Twitter tonight was on fire. It was a hard choice. I had a whole bunch of bold predictions. Difficult to pick them, but I had to zero it down a bit. So let's just jump right in and see what we have as far as bold predictions go. We're going to start with Jacob Bright. He says, okay, far out you say, because I say give us your most far out predictions, right? An alien comes and abducts Brock Lesnar, leaving the Universal title vacated. Then they have to have a tournament, but all the superstars in it start disappearing, and Bray Wyatt turns out to be the alien, and he takes off with the title. Now you see, this is what I look for in my bold predictions right here. This is great. This is just, that's bold and nutty and yes, far out there. Fantastic, Jacob. Good job. Professor Steiner won a semi-regular here on the Bold Predictions feature. This week on Raw, we follow Brock to his local watering hole where we see him in a hot wing eating competition. We see him in a hot wing eating competition. I was reading that wrong. It was like, we see him in a hot wing eating competition? No, we see him in a hot wing eating competition. Warren, God damn it. Have some more water. So just... Ever see a guy choke on water live in front of people? That's me. Just as he's about to win, Hulk Hogan walks in and asks for a plate, challenging him in a winner-take-all championship, making it the rebirth of the Hardcore Championship. Hardcore wing eatings. Good job, Professor Steiner. Headlocks and Horror chimes in. Shane McMahon shows up to announce he won't be on Team SmackDown for Survivor Series because he just traded the New Day to Raw for his replacement, Braun Strowman. Now, this is bold. This is bold, and I also like it because, you know, honestly, let's be frank, folks. If this had happened tonight on Raw or something similar to that, we would be freaking out. We'd be, oh my goodness! And this is the kind of surprises that's missing in WWE booking, where it's just like, oh, we're just gonna flip things around. Shane is enacting a trade, and finally it's gonna be Braun, and go, wow, you know, that's why I added it in here. Good job, Headlocks. Wilfred watches, the gentleman I was speaking about earlier, talking about our upcoming brand new show. Wilfred says, been waiting all day for this one. You got a busy day on your hands, don't you, Wilfred? Strowman comes out with a new t-shirt that reads, "Wash these hands." His new gimmick is to spread the good word of hygiene. This is very bold. I like it. Oh, and just to clarify, Graham, no, this is not gin. This is really water. I'm not that big a lush, especially not on a Monday night. And you know what? For reference, I never drink when I do the podcast thing, when I stream, whenever. I stay sober. Afterwards, though, whoopie boopie boop boo. And there we go, Graham. Since we're talking about you, we've got your bold tweet up here. Brock turns up, jobs the Universal title to Kurt Hawkins, who then jobs to Jinder in the main event. Leading to the main event at Survivor Series, Hawkins versus Jinder in a Punjabi prison match. And I don't know if I would... That's a kind of thing where you just want to watch because you know it's a train wreck. But very bold, Graham. Extremely bold. JPQ has his own prediction tonight as well. With all the weird partnerships in this year's Raw vs. SmackDown Survivor Series match, Vince McMahon renames the event MacGyver Series, sponsored by Karate Fighters. I used to have a karate fighter. It wasn't Chuck Norris, though. He had a gang, because that was a TV show. It was a cartoon show, right? But I do remember I had a karate fighter. But I also had a lot of Masters of the Universe. And let me tell you something, He-Man would just beat the tar out of any other action figure collections I had. So the karate fighter would always eat shit when he was up against the hero of Eternia. Finally, Mr. Controversy himself says SmackDown invades and gets beaten down by Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman doing a fusion dance named Brock, spelled B-R-A-U-K. And he had an interesting, well, a very apropos Dragon Ball gif. Very good. And those were the bold predictions for tonight's Monday Night Raw. Let me get my notes over here, and we are going to start talking about, this is the main event now, talking about Monday Night Raw, ladies and gentlemen. Not August, we're not in August at all. November 12, 2018. Let me check out let's have a little check out here in the chat real quick. Bobaruski says you were plugged on Speeds in the Benchmark show. Well, I plugged them as well. I plugged my presence there on Thursday and Chris's presence on my show afterwards, right after Speeds and Benchmark. It's like a block of 2 hours of absolute crazy cuckoo predictions. Joe Cook says, always love to hop in on the show recaps. Thanks for being here. Legendary JF says, bold prediction, AJ wins Sunday. We'll talk about that a little later. But that is bold prediction. And Joe has one of his own. Again, says Ronda wins Sunday. That's pretty bold. And JPQ says, I don't see how Ronda can go over on Sunday. I can. But we'll talk about that later. Let's start with the opening segment. Well, actually, we thought we were getting an opening match. See all the tag teams in the ring, and I'm like, yes. And regale me with a wrestling show that begins with wrestling. Please, let me take part in this. But no, it wasn't quite like that. It was a tag team battle royal, so of course that means Braun Strowman comes out and annihilates all the teams. Of course. That's part of his gimmick now. He destroys all the teams, lays waste. When you look at the state of the tag team division on Raw, and you see the Revival, you see the Revival in there, a legitimately excellent tag team, with the B team, with the Ascension, that have struggled with credibility, let's put it that way. Not that they're untalented, just struggling with credibility. Slater and Rhino, they decided to pull Slater and Rhino out of nowhere, making us all remember how great Heath Slater is and just how horribly, terribly, mind-crushingly misused he is. And you sort of look at the status there, and then you understand at the same time why they decided to pull Lucha House Party out of 205 Live to come put them on Raw. This is basically just to round out the numbers, right? Anyway, so I don't know if they're doing themselves many favors, but just the fact, again, that Braun runs in and destroys everyone. It's Braun, so it works, It's Braun so it works because that's his thing. He's super powered. He's like 10 bulls attached to an elephant, attached to a rocket. But so basically it works in that context, but it still doesn't help build credibility for your tag team division. At least AOP wasn't around to get murder-lurtled by Braun, because honestly, with the way AOP was booked, especially in NXT, there would be entirely legitimate reasons for AOP to be able to take Braun out. It would be plausible. Anyway, Stephanie McMahon comes out, and then she wants to get Braun on Team Raw because she wants to beat Shane. She wants to beat SmackDown because she wants to beat Shane. She can't let Shane win. Now the thing here is that no, wait, before I get into talking about stakes, Braun doesn't care. Stephanie's trying to turn him, saying, Braun disrespected all you hard workers, didn't do anything to defend you when Baron Corbin attacked you from behind. She didn't quite say it like that, but yeah, and she, you know, you know, he won the World Cup. You know, Shane's a snake essentially. Braun doesn't care. Braun does not care, and not only is that's normal, that's fine, and I'm okay with that. That's actually part of Braun Strowman's character. He just wants to beat people up. But honestly, why should the not caring about Stephanie wanting to one-up Shane, why should it only be limited to Braun Strowman not caring? Why should anyone else on Team Raw care about the stakes for Survivor Series? These mystery stakes. Yes, I know for the past 2-3 years now that the stakes have always been the same. It's all about Stephanie and Shane continuing their ongoing sibling rivalry, brand supremacy, but it's dumb. It's dumb. It's not a good fit for this type of event, for bringing people together to fight for one single cause. You know, why would Finn Balor want to fight for Stephanie McMahon's honor or the honor of Raw when he's been crapped over and over by Baron Corbin while they were in their mini feud? The question of stakes will always come back as long as there's nothing tangible and real to actually motivate these wrestlers into going to battle for their brand. I've heard this story multiple times. You know, when the commentators talk about brand supremacy, those are actually Vince McMahon's words. Because while there may not be actual stakes, for Vince there is legitimacy in brand superiority. You know, he wanted WWF to be better than WCW. Well, there you go. That's what happened. He had the better brand. And to him, apparently, in conversations, when people talk with him, when they talk about SmackDown and Raw, the concept of brand superiority does come out. So to him, it's like a given. It's like, of course you're gonna want to fight for brand superiority. And honestly, I wouldn't have a problem with them fighting for brand superiority if we were given a reason to care about it. Why should we care about brand superiority? Is it because the team who the members of the Survivor Series team who survive, right? Maybe they get the last few spots in the Royal Rumble. Maybe they get spots 30, 29, and 28. That would be interesting and would also make it even more interesting because then people would probably want even more to be on the teams themselves. So you could really have qualifiers and it'd just make a lot more sense. Corey Graves recently has been talking, when he was trying to give justifications to the to Bobby Lashley's actions, or Leo Rush's actions, forcing DQs on Finn Balor and stuff like that. He'd bring up money. He'd bring up the concept of money, like saying at some point Leo Rush cost Bobby Lashley a match by DQ, and Graves just flat out said, well, now, because of Leo Rush, Bobby Lashley is going to get the loser's end of the purse. So why wouldn't you motivate your guys by money? I mean, they're athletes. They're paid to do what they're doing. None of them are doing it out of pure honor. Just as people who play in the NFL or in Major League Baseball or in Major League Soccer, any of these people, they all play for cash. So Why not have a little bonus at the end? You survive at the end, you get $25,000 extra. That's your little pay. That's your little payday. And then it could easily lead into much more interesting storylines. Then you could have betrayals within a team because maybe it's a purse that they split amongst themselves. It's 50,000 to be split amongst the survivors, and then maybe, someone takes some guy out. There'd be so many more interesting ideas to bring to make us care more about Survivor Series, because I'm a fan of Survivor Series. I like the Survivor Series concept. I just don't like the fact that it's nothing, that it doesn't. For me, fighting for the McMahon kids is not a proper motivation for anyone, unless you're just stacking your team with heels and they all just want to suck up to the boss. You're not going to have your baby faces suck up to the bosses, It's really strange, and even in the money idea, the idea of a purse, no one will crap on a baby face for wanting to go in there and make some cash, right? We want our baby faces to succeed as well, more than the heels, but the heels will do dastardly shit to keep the baby faces from having their end of the purse. Interesting storylines. Quick look at the chat very quickly. Graham says, I wanted to see Nicholas interrupt the next Battle Royal later in the show when we were talking about when Braun came in and tore everyone up. Jacob Barton, hello, welcome over. JPQ says that MMC winner gets the 30th spot in the Royal Rumble should have been a Survivor Series incentive. Yes, kind of like I said. Joe Cook said, did you see the winners of the Mixed Match Challenge are number 30 in the Rumble now? There you go. And what did you say? JPQ says, I think that Warren is saying WWE should bring back the Terry Reynolds Invitational. No. But anyway, so that's my rant about stakes in WWE. Let's get back to recapping the show. Braun says, you think I'm just a mindless meat castle, which, honest to God, is another t-shirt in and about itself, right? Would you wear a t-shirt that says, I am a mindless meat castle? Yup, I would. So basically, Stephanie says, look, I'm ready. I'm desperate. I'm ready to do anything that you want. Braun, what do you want me to do? Just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. And Braun says anything. Stephanie says anything. I want Baron Corbin. I want to pick the stipulations. I want to pick the moment. I get to fight him my terms, and she says, fine, we'll do it. She's basically throwing Corbin under the bus so that she can get what she wants. Then Ronda Rousey comes out, cuts a promo. And look, I'm going to pass through fairly quickly here. I did talk a little more about rants than I wanted, and I don't want to keep you fine people here for 19 minutes. I know you enjoy the sound of my voice, but at some point we do have to move on. So let's move on to our first match of the evening, Ember Moon versus Tamina. Now, have you ever seen a wave-breaking wall? Have you ever seen one of these? Some coastal cities, to keep waves from crashing, very high waves during storms, hurricanes, whatever. They set up these very, very big, sturdy, immensely sturdy walls. The waves come crashing against them. This is kind of what I felt. This is kind of what I felt watching Ember Moon versus Tamina. Tamina was essentially a wall. But not a wall in the sense like, she's unflappable, she can't, nothing you do moves her. No, like she didn't move. Like she was immobile. She didn't take part in the match. Ember Moon was throwing everything she had at her. But Tamina just didn't do anything. It's not a question of, look at how strong she is. She just didn't retaliate. Oh, she did. I mean, she did retaliate with, some strikes and, but, I mean, it was like Ember was wrestling a literal wall. And I understand that Tamina had surgery. She has both of her knees are gone. Getting up there age-wise as well, especially if you compare it to the younger, hungrier Ember Moon. But, I mean, Moon did everything she could to make this look good. Tamina, man, yeah. And even her Snuka Splash at the end, she didn't jump much, did she? It was more like just like a drop, It's like, basically, this is Tamina. This is Tamina. We're going, boop, boop, going up to the top rope. Boop, 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 boop. All right, time for the Snuka Splash. Basically it, just dropping off. These are very scientifically accurate reenactments that I do with my markers here. Yeah. I don't know what where they're going exactly with. Well, actually, I do feel I know where they're going with this pairing of Tamina and Nia Jax. I mentioned it last week. Since Nia Jax is Ronda Rousey's next opponent, and since we've already been to that well, and Ronda Rousey has defeated Nia Jax, well, since we're going back at it, well, I think that they need to create like a double trouble kind of situation where, Nia Jax now has another powerhouse watching her back, and it's going to be a big cluster of, how many people can beat up Ronda Rousey at a time before she retains her title. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We get a recap of what happened between Seth and Dean, just in case your goldfish minds have forgotten. Seth Rollins comes out. He talks about, and Corey Graves is with him in the ring, and Corey gets him to talk about his upcoming match at Survivor Series. Remember that? Remember that Seth Rollins has a match at Survivor Series against Shinsuke Nakamura? Now, full disclosure here, I am actually looking forward to all of the champion versus champion matches, I should say, at Survivor Series. All of them. I think they all have the potential to be fantastic because all involved are fantastic workers. Or at least people who can play off each other really, really well to create fun matches. Shinsuke versus Seth is a match we've never seen before. And I'm kind of boggled as to why people aren't more excited about this. And I don't need hype for this. I don't need 4 weeks of Shinsuke and Seth trading barbs with each other. This is a cool matchup. Are you kidding me? Think about it. Tyler Black versus Shinsuke Nakamura. This is what we're getting. But it's sort of under everyone's radar. And plus, Corey starts interviewing Seth tonight, and he says, we know where you're preoccupied with what's happening with Dean, but you do have a match with Shinsuke for, this weekend at Survivor Series. And Seth says, but I don't give a damn about Shinsuke. And I'm like, God damn. I understand storyline, what it means. Of course. Seth is preoccupied because his brother, his friend, his chum, his comrade, his loyal bud, turned his back on him, so he's preoccupied. I get that. But you're still promoting a show. You're still promoting matches. You want people to get excited about your matches. Don't have your baby face, especially your baby face in this situation, say, well, I don't give a damn about the match. Because all I care about is Dean. All right, so what are we doing? What are we doing? You know? I was kind of disappointed in how they wrote this up. Anyway, Seth wants answers from Dean tonight. He says he's not man enough to come out and face him, but Dean has connections with the production department because he is on the Titantron in the back, sitting on a car next to a burning oil drum. He's in Hobo Town, and he basically says he doesn't owe anyone an explanation. But then he sort of kind of gives an explanation. He says he says, Seth, maybe you're wondering, maybe I shouldn't have treated Dean like a charity case so much. Talk to him like an imbecile, I think he says. Maybe Dean's always been the same guy, but I've been too selfish or self-absorbed to see what was going on around me. And so Dean he does the disingenuous thing, and he says, I hope one day my brothers can forgive me for what I did. But nah, that's not it. I used to think that the Shield was strong, but the truth is the Shield made me weak. You made me weak. Roman made me weak. The burden of having to watch your back made me weak. So basically, the Shield was holding him down. But every day is just a chance to be reborn and burn it down. And he tosses his flask. Yeah, sneering Dean Ambrose. You gotta maintain that sneer. You gotta have a little flasky, sort of like this one here. Only not as stupid as a plastic see-through red flask. No, he throws his flak jacket, his Shield uniform into the oil drum, into the flames, and he actually pours gasoline on it. Gasoline. Because with the amount he put on it, you would have at least expected the fire to go poof. But no. So that was that. Then Cole, what I thought was really funny is that after this segment, Michael Cole is alone with Renee Young, and they hint at the fact that they're together. It's like not exactly a storyline thing, but that they're married. It's kind of it's not hidden. You a 15-second search on Google, connect those two dots together. And Michael's like, well, Renee, Dean. What kind of mental space is he in? What's going on? And Renee seems, she says, I'm comfortable with this thing. He does his thing. It's his story to tell. Look, I couldn't tell you. And you kind of wonder, well, I mean, they're on the road a lot, sure, but they go home together. They go to hotels together. Like, what do they talk about? Is it like, are we not supposed to? We're not supposed to talk about this. The Dean's like, no, we can talk about anything, but don't talk about Seth. Or they just have really superficial conversations. They talk about paint swatches, or what shape of noodle would go best with the Alfredo sauce that they're making. Dean, I think we should really use linguine. Dean, I'm the lunatic fringe, man. It's rotini or nothing. I think that's funny. But at least we got advancement this week in the Dean and Seth storyline, and I think Dean is going to cost Seth the match on Sunday. But my predictions are for another show. this Thursday. Going to have Chris Spizak of the Spies and the Benchmark Show over on Thursday evening right here at youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, just in case you're wondering where the hell you are right now. What we got here, chat? Graham says, did anyone get the vibe of Dean role-playing Eminem in the car park doing that rap about Trump? Maybe. Jacob Barton says, when you try to do a cannonball in the swimming pool, but just do a flop in the swimming pool, that was to mean a splash. Well, you know what? The cannonball has more grace. And JPQ says, when does Ambrose Rollins happen? TLC, Rumble? Can't imagine they stretch it to Mania. I don't think they're going to stretch it to Mania because I think Seth Rollins is, in the event that Roman is not back, I think that Seth Rollins is your main event man for Mania. I think they're taking the belt, the IC belt, off of Rollins. They're going to put it on Dean. Will it be at TLC? Probably. Maybe even with a rematch at the Rumble, or maybe Seth will just jump into the Rumble and win it. But I really see, like right now, I really see Seth Rollins in the main event of WrestleMania. It's hard to see anyone else right now. Now that Roman's not around. We get a recap of the amazing victory of Drew McIntyre. And when I mean amazing, you can go back and take a look at my review from my recap from last Monday, if you want to see how I feel like this was a tremendously important victory for Drew, the way that it was done. When Drew is cutting a promo, he comes to the ring with Dolph, but Dolph is basically like just hanging around, didn't say a word, did not have the mic. This was all Drew. Basically saying when he returned to Raw, he was going to take over. I broke the Shield. I broke Kurt Angle. I've been waiting 18 years for this, and I like this because this is a tinge of reality. It says, I've been waiting 18 years for this. I've sacrificed more than anyone to get here. Not entirely untrue. Look at me. Raw is my show now. I will mold it in my image. No more nostalgia acts. Gotta admit, I popped when he said that. But Finn Balor's music interrupts. And he says, Drew tells him that, and he goes to the ring. Not just the music interrupting. Finn Balor comes out and he does his pointy things with his arms. Drew basically, he goes to the ring and Drew basically tells him, you got a lot of guts coming out, but you got a lot. Finn tells him, you crossed a line last week. Sure, you had a match with Kurt Angle, but you didn't have to humiliate. Didn't have to humiliate him. I swear, this is just water I'm drinking. Finn basically says, you didn't have to humiliate Kurt Angle, and in a line that I don't know if this was just Drew adding his own little spice to whatever creative came up with him, but this doesn't sound like a Vince McMahon line. He basically says, Finn, dignity is not a right reserved for all. I've heard this line before. I mean, it's not like something that, but it doesn't sound like a WWE writing staff line. This was cool. Drew says he's sick of superstars like him being Finn and their feelings. It makes him sick. But Balor says he's been dealing with bullies all his life. Some would argue, Prince Devitt, that you were once a bully yourself. Wink, wink, New Japan. Bullet Club, Machine Gun Carl Anderson, the Underboss. Anyway. Drew says, if you can beat Dolph Ziggler tonight, then maybe you can get a shot at him. And everyone's sort of in agreement. And Drew McIntyre cheap shots Finn with a headbutt Then we get into a match between Dolph Ziggler and Finn Balor, which was actually the best match of the night. Started off slow. Dolph is in control early. He uses a ground game to keep Finn down. Headlocks with the body scissors at first, using that amateur background that we always like to point out. When wrestlers do have amateur wrestling backgrounds, it's important that commentary lets us know that they have amateur wrestling backgrounds, because amateur wrestling backgrounds mean that they know what they're doing in the ring when they're doing professional wrestling, because they have amateur wrestling backgrounds. Although it's not really wrestling what they do in the ring right now, it's sports entertainment. But you don't have an amateur sports entertainment background. You can only have an amateur wrestling background. See what I'm saying? There's there's a drop kick as well from Dolph, who covers Finn after it, who kicks out at 2. Roll up by Balor, and he basement drop kicks Dolph. Goes for the coup de grace, but Dolph crotches Finn on the top rope. Back from commercial, Dolph hits a nice neck breaker on ye old Irishman. Balor battles back with a Pele kick. He actually does a step up in Zaguri. Up on the Dolph is on the ropes. He's on the turnbuckle. And Finn actually jumps up and does a step up in Enziguri. And guess what? Michael Cole doesn't call it. Doesn't even call it a Enziguri step up. He just doesn't call it. And I'm like, what is this? So Dolph falls off the ropes. Finn stomps his chest. Covers, only gets 2. Sling blade, but then a DDT by Dolph covers him and he gets 2. Finn blocks the super kick. He gets a knee in the face by Dolph. Famouser cover gets a 2.9. Shotgun dropkick by Balor. Coup de grace is thwarted by Drew on the outside. Finn throws Dolph to the outside. Drew interferes. But he eats a kick for his trouble. Dolph runs back into the ring, and then Finn launches him over onto the outside. Does a dive onto both Dolph and Drew, who are on the outside with a tope con hilo. He hits the coup de grace on Dolph, but Dolph rolls out of the way. They both do a little sequence where they're reversing each other's pinfalls, and it is Finn who gets the win. Good job. Good job, Finn. So basically, he just set himself up for a big, big loss against Drew McIntyre, who is going to be pushed to the moon. Stephanie backstage sees Finn, Dolph, and Drew and makes them members of the Raw team. And she's telling them, "Look, you have to hang on and don't beat each other up. All right, mi boyos, everyone's all right. That's what you say in Scotland, right? And in Ireland, mi boyos, right? That's what Stephanie was saying. She wasn't saying that. There's a recap of Becky's Fire promo from last Tuesday. Ronda cuts a fantastically bad promo about millennials and wingtip shoes. Oh my God. Now, there's a rumor going around that Ronda is writing her promos with Paul Heyman. And I shudder to think that this is the best they're coming up with. Picking on millennials. Making these comparisons. Perpetuating this vision. My God. Becky and Ronda are the exact same age. This was bad. This was bad. Her delivery at first was I get what she was doing. She was doing, starting off soft and going towards a crescendo. But her beginning was kind of muddled and confused. And honestly, I was listening to the stuff about millennials. You're a millennial. And I was like, what the hell am I listening to? What is this? I do not understand at all. Smidget, how you doing? I don't understand. Anyway. the promo gets cut off when Nia Jax and Tamina walk in to remind everyone that Nia is next for the championship title. But holy crap. I can't believe that this is what Paul Heyman would come up with. This, honestly, this feels like a Vince McMahon thing. This feels like, everyone who everyone hates? Millennials. They think everything is entitled to them. Doing Vince McMahon is hard. They think everything. They're entitled to everything. They think that they can come up with all sorts of excuses for their failures, and they're whiny. So Becky Lynch, she's a millennial. You're gonna talk about their wingtip shoes and their coffee and their do it yourself attitude, where they hang little lights from their ceilings, and I don't understand them. I hate them, pal. It's a lot more difficult than it looks. I am going off track again. Ruby Riott versus Natalya is our next match. Basically, the Riott Squad comes out. Ruby has a microphone in her hand. She wants to apologize for what she did last week, saying she struck a nerve with Natalya and the WWE Universe when she broke Anvil's sunglasses. She's had a week to think about her actions. Talks about being a future Hall of Famer. Talks about him being a future Hall of Famer, a powerhouse, such an infectious laugh. She's doing the disingenuous thing. You can see this coming a mile away. She says she humiliated Natalya in front of a worldwide audience, and I enjoyed every second of it. And you know what? Ruby Riott, here's the thing. I find that Ruby Riott had shit material for her promo. It was not... It's something that we've seen how many times before? We've seen Alexa Bliss do it many, many times. They even had Carmella do it as well. So, of course, this is what we were expecting. And the material wasn't all that great to begin with either. It was very, very bland. Ruby Riott. She spun as much gold as she could with the material she had. This is the mark of a pro here. Anyway, so she tells Natty, says, you think I took it too far, but I didn't take it far enough. The Riott Squad, we've clawed and scratched for everything we wanted. Natalya basically attacks Ruby from behind. Her music hits. She attacks Ruby from behind. But the numbers game. Oh! It's way too much. It's just too much. 3-on-1. They beat up Natalya. They set her up for the weak sauciest heart attack I have ever seen. It hurt so bad just to see it. And Ruby is such a good worker. How did she... It was like technically Bret Hart jumps, right? He jumps when he does the heart attack. And you're supposed to jump and clothesline. And she just boop. And they didn't even drop Natalya on her back when she hit the clothesline. All of this was bad. It was so bad. But let's give spotlight to Ruby Riott as much as possible. That's a plus. That's good. See, and I want to nuance something here, because it's important. I've been saying for months that one of the problems that WWE has is how they book their women. They book a division, but they don't book compelling characters, right? They don't book the women. They book a women's division. They've been doing that for months now. That's why the women's divisions felt so stale, especially on Raw, because they didn't, aside from the title picture, they didn't know what to do with the other women. They'd always put them in 6-man tags and stuff like that. Now, the fact that they're giving them place here to expand and grow and actually develop their characters, and women that are not Alexa and Sasha and Bailey, more women doing more stuff, giving Natalya more of a spotlight, giving a spotlight to Ember Moon, to Ruby Riott. I'm okay with this. I don't want to sound that I'm complaining all the time, because this was, or what they've been doing anyway, over the past couple of weeks since Evolution, is giving more room to the women, and women, new call-ups, new faces that the main roster that haven't had the chance to shine on the main roster. Jacob in the chat says that was the worst heart attack move ever. I was just, let's never speak of it again. We get our tag team battle royal, guys. We got it, guys. Guys, we got our tag team battle royal. Why is Lucha House Party allowed to compete as 3 in the battle royal? Why? Why are they allowed? I don't understand. It's a shame because Heath Slater gets eliminated first. Lucha House Party and the Revival had a nice moment, but the Revival get eliminated next, and it's Lince Dorado that eliminates Scott Dawson, I think, and then the B team eliminate Dash Wilder. And I swear at this point, WWE is just trolling us with the way that they're handling the Revival. It's just a troll. All 3 members of Lucha House Party try to work over Connor of the Ascension, but Connor eliminates Kalisto. The B team gets eliminated next. But the one highlight of this match, because I hate these rushed battle royals, Rude and Gable's new finisher, the neckbreaker moonsault combo. Are you kidding me? That was amazing, frightening, and amazing. Wouldn't you agree, chat? That was, and when they were setting up, you know how sometimes in WWE, especially when it comes to high risk maneuvers, you think that they're going to do like a superplex to the outside, and you're like, no, don't do it. And they tease it, but it doesn't happen. I thought this was exactly it. When I saw Chad Gable going up for the moonsault, and Bobby Roode was holding him in a neck breaker, I was like, no, they're not. Gable's going to fall off or something. They can't go through it, but they did. That was really cool. And they will be the captain of the 10-man tag team Survivor Series tag team match. I don't know how to call it. Even Michael Cole had trouble describing what that match is going to be. And apparently it's going to be on the pre-show. And the pre-show is going to be 2 goddamn hours. 2 hours of pre-show. Who needs 2 hours of pre-show? Brock Lesnar has this promo. When I say he has his promo, I mean Paul Heyman talks for him. Talks about, congratulates Braun for worming his way back into the title picture. Congratulates the SmackDown locker room for avoiding to take a beating from the Beast. And he congratulates AJ Styles for getting in the position to get that beating. Graham Cook says that move, talking about the moonsault into a neckbreaker combo, was something out of 2K19. I agree. That's something. It's not something you see every day in WWE. It's a little risque. Anyway, so he congratulates AJ Styles for getting in position for a beating. No one in WWE there's no one in WWE that Brock wants to beat up more than AJ Styles. And guys, what I was saying earlier, that I'm super excited, very much looking forward to every champion versus champion match. This one particularly, because, and I'm glad they're reminding us, they're talking about their match at Survivor Series last year, where everyone was like, oh, it's going to be another Brock squash. This was one of Brock's most competitive matches that he's had during his infamous run as Universal Champion. He worked really well with AJ. Told the perfect story. I am super looking forward to them wrestling again this year. It should be a lot of fun. For some reason, Jinder Mahal comes out, and he says, Brock, last year, I was so focused on fighting you at Survivor Series that I lost sight, and AJ snuck in and took my WWF Championship away. So I can help you if you want to focus listening to my mantra. And Heyman is in the ring and he looks at Brock and is like, well, do you want to listen to this stuff? And he puts the mic under Brock's mouth, and Brock says, well, yeah, I mean, he tells Paul, he says, you should listen to this. After all, you're Jewish. And I don't even know what that means. But what it does mean is that don't put a live mic under Brock Lesnar's mouth anymore. That could have gone downhill really. Like if there's something racially charged here, it's beyond me right now. But whoo, I feel like there's a lot of people who were backstage who are dabbing themselves and like, oh, it's that. Oh, thank God, that's all he said. I have props. So basically, what you expected to happen happened. Jinder goes in the ring. He does the Shanti thing. Former WWE champion for over 100 days. Jinder Mahal goes in the ring, does the Shanti thing, and Brock lariats the hell out of him. He kills Samir and Sunil Singh with German suplexes. He presses Sunil and tosses him onto Jinder on the outside. Then he F5s Jinder onto the floor. Jinder's done. Jinder, as far as being a credible champion at this point, at least Finn, they let Finn have competitive matches with big name players. They put him on the Survivor Series team. Jinder there's nothing left for him. Bobby Lashley versus Elias. We have Leo Rush, who's in the ring, calling for Bobby Lashley to start doing some pose downs. It says Michelangelo couldn't have imagined a better body than the one Bobby Lashley has. And he keeps calling poses until he does the ass pose again. And then Elias interrupts from the top of the ramp, sitting down with his guitar. He pulls out his cell phone. Oh, and the audience starts chanting the "Go Walk with Elias," "Go Walking with Elias" thing. That from last week when he played the bars to Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. So apparently this is sticking. And you can tell Elias is enjoying it. He's on his phone. He's calling Child Protective Services. He says, Bobby Lashley has kidnapped a child. It's stupid, but it's also... It's funny. I like it. I think it's silly. Child Protective Services says, how long can you hold him? Well, the longer he stays out here, the bigger the chances everyone here is going to fall asleep. Bobby Lashley grabs the mic from Leo Rush and says, listen to this comeback, folks. He says, shut up, you clown. You're a clown. I guess there's a reason why he has a mouthpiece now. That's quite. Shut up, you clown. You're a clown. So he invites him to come back down to the ring, and settle it. Well, of course he's gonna come down and settle it. They have a scheduled match to determine who will be the last man on the Men's Survivor Series team, Raw team, for the Survivor Series pay-per-view. So, of course, he's going to come down. When we come back from commercial, Bobby Lashley is in control. He elbow drops Elias, but misses. And Lashley powers back nonetheless. Elias starts battling back, does the draping mule kick. Not quite sure about that move. I'm not sold on it yet. But he comes out, explodes with a big clothesline. Then he unloads with some strikes. Elias knocks out Lio Rush, tosses Lashley to the outside. What I liked here is what I've been saying about Elias over the past couple of weeks regarding his offense. If he's going to be a babyface, he has to be a lot more explosive. And you feel like it feels like we're getting there. Because he did feel a little more, he was acting with a little more urgency than his usual heel, slow burn offense. When you're the babyface, you have to have these bursts. So he tosses, he being Elias, pronouns dude, tosses Lashley to the outside, he knees him from the apron to the outside. Lashley then reverses Elias into the steps, rolls into the ring. Ref is doing the 10 count. Elias finally gets back on his feet, tries to go back into the ring, but Lio Rush, which I thought was really clever, or fun anyway, he slips from right under the ring. He was hidden under the ring, and he grabs Elias's legs. Elias can't beat the 10 count. Bobby Lashley is going to Survivor Series, guys. By the way, I like the touch, just a little touch of having Bobby Lashley wear sunglasses in the ring. That's some heel shit right there. So of course, Elias goes after Lio Rush after the match, tosses him into the ring, and then launches him out of the ring onto Bobby Lashley, who's on the outside. Not much of a match. Fine, I think Elias is still finding his sea legs as a babyface. By the way, let's underscore this one last time. How easily his transition from heel to babyface has been. It's been seamless, organic. It's just flowed. Fantastic. No, it's been effortless. Beautiful stuff. But so basically Elias, and interestingly enough, this is a good way. I thought the end was a creative way to ensure Elias still looks strong, that he didn't take the pinfall, didn't win, didn't lose, via a cheap DQ thing, but just in a way that was sucky enough for everyone to be like, oh, my babyface favorite lost, but without him looking weak. I liked it. Alexa Bliss is in the ring. She's putting together her Survivor Series team. Mickie James, Nia Jackson, Tamina. And she says, I hope that not, she says to Nia, I hope we can put our differences aside. And Nia's like, all right. And she wants, as for the last member of the team, she wants someone who can put everything on the line, even friendship. Sasha vs. Bayley is our main event match of the evening. Nice little match they had going. Too bad it was cut where it was. I think we could have gotten something special. They were building towards something. Get some nice offense early in. Sasha needs Bayley to the face, who tumbles to the outside, and so they both take it to the outside. There's a nice run by Sasha onto the floor. They get back into the ring. Sasha goes up top. Meteora covers, only gets 2. Bayley goes for the under the bottom rope drop kick thing that she does, sliding at the post, but Sasha blocks it and instead spins her against the post. Sasha knees Bayley's head against the post. Now, they're still friends at this point. Yes, I get it, you're being competitive. But are you going to drive your knees to the head of your friend so that they'll knock their head against the post behind them? Is that what you're going to do? Bayley dodges the other knee, and then Sasha hits the post. Bayley rolls Sasha over for a cover, only gets 2. They do a belly to Bayley on the apron. They tumble to the floor. We go to commercial. Back from commercial. Bayley does a top rope elbow drop, and Sasha lifts her knees. It kind of looked awkward. Sasha puts Bayley into the bank statement, and then the heels attack. I'm like, what? What's going on? They beat them up, and Alexa says, since neither woman won the match, but technically the competitor that they attacked first would have been the one who got the disqualification win. So someone did win. Alexa's just making this shit up as she goes along. Anyway, it's all an excuse anyway to introduce the real fifth member of the Women's Raw Tag Survivor Series team, Ruby Riott. Again, I am very pleased with this. Give Ruby Riott everything. And as they're shaking hands and hugging in the ring, there's commotion backstage, and god damn it if I didn't call it this weekend on Twitter. Becky Lynch is backstage, and she, not only is she beating the hell out of Ronda Rousey, because that's what I wanted to see, she has her in the disarmor. She's tugging at her arm, and everyone is freaking out, and I am freaking out. And then she lets her go. Officials come, they break her apart, she walks away. Her music hits. There's the Survivor Series people, women that are in the ring, and friggin' Becky Lynch is walking down the ramp, and she's alone, and she's got this swagger about her. She's confident. Her shoulders are back, chest out. She looks like a champion. She looks like she is in charge of everything. And she's walking down to the ring, and then the Survivor Series, the SmackDown women jump from behind, and they start taking out the Raw Survivor Series women. And they start beating the shit out of everyone. The Raw locker room comes out. The SmackDown women are on top of them. They got this under control. Someone gets a sweet one on Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch starts bleeding from the nose or the face. And she's got blood, man. She's got blood on her hands, on her forearms, on her arms, everywhere. Crimson, man. Someone's going to get a stern talking to in the locker room. Because that was, oh boy. Graham says Dana broke Becky's nose. Oh, poor Dana. Oh, no. Just when she was in the midst of a sort of a kind of a push. Oh, poor Dana. That sucks. Yeah, I know. She's going to be in trouble. But anyway, wow. That was so good. That was a fun segment. The only thing that kind of took me out of it was Charlotte being there. 2 reasons. Reason number 1. What the hell is she doing cooperating with Becky? Brand supremacy. No, fuck brand supremacy. I think we've established this. It's not a good motivation. These women spent the better part of the summer, right into the fall, being in a blood feud with each other. Oh, once the title situation was settled, everything's cool. No. The title situation wasn't the situation was the sacrificing of their friendship for the title. It was beyond the title because it was a blood feud. It was Becky who decided to sacrifice her friendship with Charlotte to win the title. They had a banger of a match just 2 weeks ago. And because of that match, Charlotte is doubting herself. And that brings me to point 2. It wasn't announced that Charlotte was part of the Survivor Series women's team over on SmackDown. So what was she doing there? Paige offered, the last time we heard Charlotte talk about Survivor Series or have her be in the conversation was Paige offered her the captain's position, the leadership position, and Charlotte was like, well, golly gee willikers, I just lost a big match and I can't get my title back. I don't know if I can do this. And she walked off. We didn't see her at all last week. And now she's here? It just... That kind of just took me out of it a bit, but not enough to not appreciate this fantastic brawl, which I'm really glad that they let the women do. Becky looked so good. She looks so good. But and it looked even more dramatic with the blood. Let's be honest. I mean, if she's starting to, if the Stone Cold Steve Austin comparisons are that people are making, if we want to think of those, well, is this her Crimson Mask? Is this the part where we sort of establish herself as that, where she establishes herself as a true female Stone Cold? I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't have anything more to add to that. But holy crap! Now, this was asked before earlier in the chat. Amizzy20, how you doing? Coming in towards the end. Good of you to jump in. This is what we were asking about. Someone was talking about earlier. I think it was JPQ who asked, "Do you think?" He says, "I don't see Ronda winning, but against Becky, but I do, because right now, WWE is establishing Becky Lynch as their number one woman, undefeatable monster, the baddest woman on the planet, so on and so forth. She's going to go through everyone until we get to WrestleMania. You can be damn sure of that. She's not losing against Becky Lynch. And I'll tell you why. It's really simple. Becky Lynch can take the hit. Becky just came out of a fantastic feud with Charlotte Flair. Had a legendary match with her 3 weeks ago now. She's on top of the world. She's super popular. I think WWE is coming to grips with the fact that people love Becky. She's not a pure heel. We're not going to turn on her. We just love her too much. She can take the hit. She's bulletproof right now. Becky Lynch has always been bulletproof, but they've cemented her as the real goddamn deal here. Ronda still needs, on one hand, like I said, they want to build her to be the top woman of the company, and I also think that she still needs to convince some people of her capabilities. I think that's also part of the equation. Putting her in a match with Becky Lynch is a smart idea because Becky will be able to play off Ronda's strengths while masking her weaknesses. She's good enough to do that. And holy hell, for sure, Ronda Rousey is winning this weekend. But it won't even dent Becky Lynch. One thing that I am really curious to see. I'm really curious to see how the audience is going to react during that match. Is the audience going to turn on Ronda? Are they going to stick with Becky? That'll be fun. But hey, you know what? You can listen to more of my Survivor Series predictions this Thursday. I'm going to be doing them live here on the show. Going to have Chris Spizak as a special guest. Chris Spizak of the Spies and the Benchmark Show. Right here on Thursday. You can even join me for my War Games predictions, which are going to be here live on Friday. I'm going to have Danny Mac of the Undisputed Future podcast again coming in here to do those predictions. So guys, that's where we're at tonight. Thank you I went a little long, but there was a lot of stuff to talk about. I enjoyed myself. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I enjoy having you here. Thank you very much for tuning in. If feel free to share this. Share it out to the world. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really does help. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.